What if you had an internal GPS, not just, for directions, but for your entire life, guiding you towards your highest good? Imagine like a shortcut, direct access to profound insights and a life that just flows effortlessly.
Well, today, that's exactly what we're getting into. We're doing a deep dive into this extraordinary concept from our source material.
Yeah.
Initiating and really deepening your connection with your higher self.
Okay.
So our goal here for you listening is to unpack what this actually is, why it's apparently so crucial, and most importantly, how you can concretely start accessing this incredible guidance system within you.
Yeah, so get ready. By the end of this, you won't just understand the idea, hopefully. You'll walk away with clear, actionable steps, things you can actually do to tap into this wisdom that's, well, already there. Expect some aha moments, maybe.
Hopefully.
Okay, so let's unpack this right away. What exactly is this higher self that the source material talks about? We hear the term, but what's the definition here?
Right. So the source defines the higher self as basically a version of you, a version that is completely connected to God, fully aware of yourself as you, the individual, but also as God. It's not presented as separate, and not just some kind of mediator. It is you, just expanded.
Okay, and I remember an analogy they used that really struck me. It's like our physical body has this very limited circuit board, put too much voltage through it, and, well,
Oof.
exactly, can burn out. But the higher self, that's described as having unlimited potential. And the key, it seems, is expanding our heart capacity to handle that connection.
That's a great way to put it. And think about the cell phone analogy they use, too.
Yeah.
When you're out somewhere remote and the connection's just off, dropped calls, buffering.
Yeah, infuriating.
Well, your higher self, in this comparison, is like having direct, super fast, reliable Wi-Fi access straight to the source. It's that ultimate connection upgrade.
So the bigger picture here, the goal, is first just communicating with it, and then eventually integrating its presence right into our physical body, becoming what they call a walking ascended being.
That's the trajectory described, yes.
Yes.
And this connection, it's portrayed as incredibly important.
Yeah.
The material flat out says it's more important than programming your Merkaba.
Wow, okay. For listeners maybe not familiar, the Merkaba is a pretty advanced energy field practice, right?
It is. And the source calls this higher self connection the most important inner GPS you could ever achieve, suggesting it kind of makes other divination methods maybe unnecessary.
Interesting.
And here's a really crucial point they make. Trying to activate the Merkaba, or similar powerful practices, without your higher self's specific go-ahead for each step, it's described as potentially dangerous, even a form of black magic.
Okay, that's a strong statement. Dangerous or black magic. Why would they frame it like that? What's the thinking there?
Well, the idea seems to be that without that deep alignment with your higher self, your highest truth, your purpose doing that kind of heavy-duty energy work can be misdirected.
Right.
You could create imbalances, attract stuff you don't want, basically operate without the full wisdom and protection of your highest aspect. So it really hammers home the need for inner alignment first, claiming your divine roots, your heritage, before going into those advanced states.
Okay, that makes sense. So if this connection is so powerful, so vital, what's the holdup? Why aren't we all just walking around as these ascended beings right now?
It's a great question. The source actually explains that when we were born, we deliberately consciously placed a sort of barrier between our physical selves and our God self.
You chose that.
Apparently, yes.
Yeah.
To fully immerse consciousness in physical matter.
Yeah.
But the side effect was, often forgetting who we really are. So reconnecting has to be gradual.
Yeah.
Bringing in all that divinity at once. The material suggests it would literally make us pop out of the physical dimension.
Oh, okay. Like blowing that circuit board we talked about?
Exactly. So it's a gentle step-by-step reintegration.
And as this connection grows, this is where it gets really interesting for me. The source says the higher self starts giving you unsolicited information. It compares it to befriending a shopkeeper who just starts knowing what you need, or like upgrading from an old TV to HD TV. Same broadcast, but suddenly the picture is crystal clear, the input's the same, but your reception is way better.
That's a perfect summary of the idea. And what's really encouraging, I think, is the reassurance offered to you, the listener. The text suggests that if you're even drawn to this kind of material, you're likely part of what it calls the way showers or the enlightenment crew.
So already on the path.
Exactly. It doesn't mean you're better than anyone. It stresses that.
Yeah.
But your role is unique. And it introduces this pretty mind-bending idea that maybe others around you could be placeholders for the polarity reality, or even extras acting for your benefit.
Extras, like in a movie, sort of. It shifts the perspective, suggesting every interaction, even the tough ones, might be there for you. Purposefully designed to help you learn exactly what you need for your own evolution.
That's a lot to chew on. And it also says you're not doing this alone, right? There's support.
Huge support. The analogy used is Meriwether Lewis and William Clark, the explorers. They had the whole U.S. government backing them. Well, the source says you have the full support of the Great White Brotherhood, countless unseen helpers, beings of light, and ultimately the Creator, all cheering you on.
So with all that support, why doesn't it just happen? Why the struggle sometimes?
Well, here's the catch, highlighted clearly. All you need to do is ask for the help you need, because we're in a free will zone.
Right.
So intervention from your higher self or these helpers typically requires your initiation. Asking isn't weakness. It's seen as demonstrating humility, and it allows these beings of light to actually do their job, which is to support your journey. Okay, got it. Now, before we get into the how-to of connecting, the source brings up another key player in our inner world, the lower self. Seems important to understand that, too, to tell the difference.
Definitely. The lower self is described as being like the child to your adult ego self. It's sort of a package deal. Your ego, desire body, emotional body, mental body, physical body, all bundled together.
And its job?
Primarily, keeping you safe and teaching you about the ways of the world. It's framed quite positively, actually, your friend, always operating from its perspective of what's best for your immediate survival and learning.
Okay, so it's helpful but limited. The source mentions it gives accurate information for immediate circumstances, like danger nearby or checking in with your emotions.
Yes, very useful for that.
But its feedback can be easily influenced by individuals who are around you and the environment. And it operates from that limited database, just your own experiences in these lower bodies. Plus, crucially, it keeps track of past hurts.
Right, the baggage.
Yeah, which can make it steer you away from things inappropriately. The text uses the Peter Pan analogy, avoiding adult stuff because of past fears, which is totally different from the higher self, who apparently has access to all information.
Exactly. That leads to the fundamental difference.
Yeah.
Your higher self is proactive. Your lower self is reactive.
Proactive versus reactive. Okay.
Think about driving that sports car again. Winding road.
Yeah.
Your lower self might make you brake suddenly, reactively swerve away from an oncoming car. Phew. Close call, but you reacted just in time.
Very heart-pounding.
Your higher self, though, it would have proactively nudged you maybe 10 minutes earlier. Hey, pull over at that scenic view up ahead. And you do, and you completely miss the dangerous situation altogether. You were never even in harm's way. That's the difference advanced awareness makes.
Wow, okay. That's a clear distinction. So the million-dollar question, though. How do you know if it's your higher self talking or your lower self, especially when the lower self is also trying to help?
The source gives a really simple but vital rule for this. Whenever you consciously ask your higher self a question, you always begin the question with the words higher self.
Just stating it clearly.
Exactly. It sets the intention and directs the call, so to speak.
Yeah.
There's that anecdote about the woman who went on a date that was just a waste of time. She thought she had asked her higher self, but looking back, she realized her lower self answered, why? Because it wanted to feel special, desirable. Her higher self, knowing her actual life, her busy schedule, her deeper needs, would have likely guided her differently. That simple prefix, higher self, makes all the difference.
That makes sense. What about just general intuition, though? Gut feelings, lots of spiritual paths talk about that. How does this model see that compared to higher self-guidance?
That's a really good point. The source acknowledges that intuition can bubble up from different places. It could be your lower self's wisdom based on past experience. It could even be input from external entities or helpful angels and guides.
So not always the higher self directly.
Not necessarily, no. But the goal here, in this specific teaching, is to establish that direct line to your divine self, your highest aspect, angels and guides, absolutely there to help, supporting you in building that relationship with the Creator.
Yeah.
But the ultimate aim is your unmediated connection.
Okay.
And interestingly, it touches on this concept of there is no, meaning the higher self doesn't really operate with no like we do. It's more like concepts of God or not God.
God or not God.
Yeah. So if you get a clear yes, that's your signal. It's aligned. If you get anything else, fuzziness, neutrality, silence, it falls into the not God category for that specific question, meaning it's not aligned with your highest path right now, which tells you, okay, need more info or a different question.
Fascinating. Okay, so we understand the what and the why. How do we actually do this? How do we build the connection and start getting that clear guidance? What are the practical steps?
Right. The nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
The material details, establishing signals first, because it's not always words. Higher self-communication can come as feelings like a physical whoosh of energy, or just a clear knowing. It could be colors, shapes, visions, even sounds or smells. And the key, it says, is practice. Practice builds confidence in recognizing your specific signals.
And it gives examples, right? I remember reading about those.
Yeah, some really cool ones from students. Brian got a smiley face on a shell as a synchronicity. Kelly saw a Michelangelo painting. Dennis got a clear image of Mickey Mouse's hand.
Mickey Mouse, seriously?
Apparently. Someone else got a red beating heart for yes and green M&Ms for no. Others had unique things like crystals, paratroopers, lightning bolts. Very personal. And neutral often showed up as just a flat line or nothing specific.
Okay, but what if you try this? You ask for signals and nothing. You don't get a clear yes-no symbol. That could be discouraging.
Totally. And the source directly addresses that. It says, don't despair. It doesn't mean it's not working. It might just mean your primary way of processing isn't visual or kinesthetic in that way. Maybe more mental.
So what do you do then?
Here's the clever part. You can actually choose symbols you understand and teach them to your higher self.
You teach your higher self.
Yeah. The analogy is adorable, like a toddler teaching parents that gay means cheese. You pick simple, easy mental images or feelings. Green light, red light, thumbs up, down. An energy sensation on your right for yes, left for no. Geometric shapes. Whatever works for you, you establish the code.
I love that. Okay, so you have potential signals or you've chosen them. When do you practice asking?
Initially, the recommendation is during meditation. Specifically, if you're doing the Merkaba meditation, it suggests between breaths 14 and 15, because that's a point where you're deeply anchored into your heart.
The heart connection again.
Exactly. The source emphasizes that the ideal meeting ground for you and your higher self is in your heart. It's that common ground, the bridge between your physical self and your divine self.
Okay, so let's walk through the actual steps for initiating this, say, in meditation. The source gives 4 simple steps.
4 key steps. First, get centered in your heart space, and then think or say with intention. Higher self, I am choosing to be in my heart. Please join me in my heart.
Step 1, invite it in.
Step 2, state your intention clearly. Higher self, I am making a commitment to build a new level of communication between me and my higher self.
Step 2, commitment.
Step 3, ask for the signals. Because of this, I am asking my higher self for a signal or symbol for yes. I'm asking my higher self for a signal or symbol for no. And I'm asking my higher self for a signal or symbol for neutral. And then you wait. Allow time. Be patient. Be open.
Step 3, ask and wait.
And step 4.
Simple gratitude. I thank you, higher self, for working with me, acknowledging the connection.
Okay, that seems straightforward enough. But what if the feeling is off? Like you ask something and the answer feels fuzzy or muddy, just not clear.
The source says that lack of clarity is significant. It is a signal in itself. It means something's up. Maybe you need to rephrase the question or ask directly what is going on.
Okay.
And crucially, if you're ever really unsure, is this really my higher self or is it my ego or something else? You ask that specific question, is this my higher self?
The material is very clear. Only your higher self may respond with a yes to that exact question. It calls it cosmic law, like a universal failsafe. No other energy or aspect can falsely claim to be your higher self in response to that direct query.
Wow. Okay. That's a powerful safety net. So once you do have clarity, or if you're in a confusing situation, the source says there's really only one question to ask your higher self for deeper insight.
Yes. Once you're confident in the connection, the go-to question for understanding complex stuff, especially things that seem to defy the rules of reality, is simply, higher self, what is going on?
Just open-ended like that.
Exactly. It's described as non-pejorative, non-judgmental, and very open-ended. It lets the higher self provide the bigger picture without you leading the witness, so to speak.
And this whole process relies on us initiating, right?
Yeah.
That free will thing again. The higher self won't just start chatting uninvited.
Generally, no. Initiation comes from you because of free will. Now, the source does say spontaneous experiences can happen, but they're usually explained by pre-existing agreements or soul contracts made before this life. However, once you've established that reliable, consistent communication line, then it starts to become a two-way street more often. Your higher self will begin offering unsolicited information, things you didn't ask about but are relevant, like that piano teacher suggesting new music they think you'll love.
Okay, so the initial effort opens the door for more spontaneous guidance later. Makes sense. Now, the practice period. This seems really key, where the rubber meets the road, as they say.
Absolutely. Once you've got those initial signals, the source lays out a clear path to really master this.
Yeah.
A dedicated practice period, not just dabbling.
And it's specific, right? How long?
A minimum of 45 days, 6 weeks. And it stresses making this decision consciously, at the ego level, so your whole being is on board. It's like committing to learning a language. We'll start with basics like yes and no, but you plan to stick with it. You pick an end date for this initial intense practice phase.
Okay, 6 weeks. And there's a really important rule about the type of questions to ask during this time.
Crucial rule, yes. During these 45 days, you'll choose questions that have no value to you and are of no consequence to you.
No consequence. Why? That seems counterintuitive.
The reason is simple and smart. Because you do not want your ego to participate. If you ask about something you care about, something your ego has a stake in, should I take that job? Does so-and-so like me? Should I eat this cookie? Your ego's desires and fears will jump in and muddy the waters.
Okay. So keep the ego sidelined during training.
Exactly. Ask things like, higher self, is it in my highest and best good to wear the red shirt today or the blue shirt? Should I take this route to work or that route? Stuff where you genuinely don't have a preference. It allows you to practice receiving and recognizing the signals without interference.
Got it. And then there's the take action rule.
The absolute must-do rule for this period. If you ask your higher self one of these practice questions, you must follow the answer. No exceptions.
Even if it seems weird.
Especially if it seems weird. Not following through will sabotage your practice. The example given is great. Maybe you always use the treadmill. Higher self signal says, use the Stairmaster today. You think, okay, and you do it. Then you see someone hop on your usual treadmill, and 5 minutes later it breaks down.
Okay.
Following the guidance, even when it makes no logical sense at the time, builds those seeds of faith and knowing. You start to experience firsthand that the higher self does have that wider perspective.
Right, which connects back to that logical reason for following your higher self, advanced awareness.
Precisely. It's like that weather alert interrupting your TV show about incoming hail. Your higher self is constantly offering those kinds of updates, that interruption of local normal, allowing you to respond proactively, often avoiding problems entirely.
Okay. Now, what about keeping track? Should you be logging your hits and misses?
Another pitfall the source warns against. Forget keeping score. It gives an example of an engineer who kept asking things like, will this light turn green? Will I have a message when I get back? Trying to constantly verify.
Yeah, I can see wanting proof.
But the source says that behavior is really looking for immediate feedback that proves that you are right. It feeds the ego's need for validation. Instead, the advice is, let the synchronicities produce the score. Just follow the guidance on the inconsequential stuff, and over time, you'll notice things working out better, smoother. That detached observation allows the ego to learn and integrate more effectively.
Detachment is key. Okay, and what about those neutral responses? We know why they might happen, but practically, what should you do? The source listed 5 reasons.
All right, the 5 reasons for neutral. 1, no real difference between options. 2, questions was ambiguous. 3, doesn't serve you to know the answer. Might mess up a lesson. 4, doesn't serve you to know right now, timing. 5, not your business, basically not in your stewardship.
So if you get neutral.
The follow-up question is it useful to pursue this further?
Okay.
If the higher self gives a yes to that, it probably means either the options were equal, no difference, or your question was unclear, ambiguous, so you should rephrase. If it gives a no to pursuing further, then it's likely one of the other reasons not helpful to know, not now, or not your business, and you just drop it.
And it emphasizes the higher self never says you're wrong, right?
Never. It never corrects you or tells you that you are wrong. Because, as the source puts it, being wrong is completely impossible in the 5th dimension.
Yeah.
From that higher perspective, everything is just experience contributing to growth. The concepts of right-wrong just don't map directly.
Okay. So after you've done your 6 weeks, you've built some confidence. Then you can start asking the bigger questions.
That's the idea. You move beyond the simple yes-no on trivial things. You can start using open-ended questions like, higher self, what is going on, to get deeper understanding of situations in your life.
And the anecdotes shared really drive home the value of listening, even when it seems small. The author ignoring guidance about a movie and having a bad time, or Ginny the black belt ignoring a nudge to leave earlier and being late for karate.
Exactly. They illustrate that not following the guidance, even on little things, often leads to regret or inconvenience later. Hindsight shows the higher self usually knew best because it saw the bigger picture.
It really paints a picture of a more guided, less friction-filled life if you can master this. So let's recap the core steps again, just to make it super clear for anyone wanting to start.
Okay, 4 main steps to initiate and maintain the connection. Step 1, establish clear communication. Go into your heart, invite your higher self in, state your commitment to communicate clearly, and ask for your yes-no neutral signals. Patiently wait for them, or consciously choose and teach them.
Got it. Step 1, set up the line.
Step 2, continue the practice for minimum 6 weeks, 45 days. This is the crucial training phase. Ask 30-50 insignificant, no ego attachment, yes-no questions daily. Always follow through on the answer. And maybe lay off other divination tools during this time to really focus here.
Okay. Step 2, practice consistently with inconsequential questions and follow through.
Step 3, make a commitment to your practice period. Consciously decide on the time frame, at least 45 days, set an end date, and state this intention clearly, maybe even write it down. Make it official for your ego.
Step 3, formal commitment.
And step 4, feel higher self-love for you. This is important. Regularly, maybe daily in meditation, consciously ask your higher self to show you or let you feel how much you are loved. It strengthens the bond and reinforces the positive, supportive nature of this connection.
Step 4, feel the love. That's a nice one to end on. Wow, what an incredible deep dive. This really isn't just about getting psychic answers, is it? It feels much bigger. Integrating the ego with the higher self, becoming that master of divine expression, living with no limitation.
That's the potential held out, yes. Your higher self, according to this material, knows the perfect path, the perfect solution for you in every single moment, considering absolutely everything. And the logical reason to tune in. That advance awareness, that internal weather report for your life, giving you the heads up you need.
So, the final thought to leave everyone with, maybe. What would your life actually look like, feel like, if you consistently operated from that place of advance awareness, guided by the part of you that sees the whole map, effortlessly navigating the twists and turns, maybe even unlocking joys you didn't expect?
It's a powerful question.
Yeah.
We genuinely encourage you, if this resonates, consider starting your own practice period. Maybe just commit to those 45 days. See what happens. Experience the potential of this connection for yourself.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for diving deep with us today. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking those questions, and keep expanding that incredible connection within you.